Interviewing is a lot like dating. Yeah, you heard me right. Think about it. What you accomplish and what you look like gets you into the interview. But building attraction and holding attention in the interview is what actually gets you the job. What's unfortunate is most of you will get in an interview and completely fumble the bag at no fault of your own, but don't worry about it. Today I'm going to give you the most out of the box interview advice you've ever gotten in your life, and it's guaranteed to help you crush the next interview. All right, here we go. Hey, for everybody just joined the channel, my name's RP, and this entire channel is dedicated to helping you crush it at your 9 to 5 so that you can get promoted as quickly as possible and take all that extra money and put it into assets and businesses so you can get the freedom that you so desperately deserve. So do me a huge favor. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button right at the top. But more importantly, I need you to interact on the video because we're trying to build a community around all the 9 to 5 corporate athletes out there. All right, let's get started. Hey, look, I know you can't stick along all day, so here's the too long I got kids version of the most out of the box interview advice you're ever gonna get in your life that's gonna help you crush the next interview cycle. Number 1, be well read and well dressed. I got some interesting tips here. Stick around here. You're not gonna wanna miss this one. Number 2, challenge the interviewer and push back. I know this may sound counterintuitive, but I promise you, I'm gonna show you exactly how to leverage this to your benefit in an interview. And number 3, ask great questions. Listen, I don't care what your grandma tells you, there are such things as stupid questions. Let me show you how to form the right ones to really get your interviewer's mind going as you end the interview. All right, let's deep dive into number 1, be well read and well dressed. Coach Prime Deion Sanders says it best. Look good, feel good, play good, and they pay good. Most people inherently understand that you want to look good and dress good so that you can feel good during the interview. In this post-COVID world, we've seen the quality and standard of how people dress in interviews drop dramatically. I get it, there's this more lax culture coming out of COVID. Most companies don't require you to dress up, but I'm not telling you to dress up for the sake of dressing up. I want to deep dive into a few different strategies around dressing up that can evoke certain emotions just like you would on a first date. Okay, let's start with the newbies here. If you are going into an entry-level role, here's what I want you to do. I want you to overdress. I want you to put on the full business attire. Suit, tie for those that prefer it. Nice corporate dress attire for the ladies that prefer it. I want you to leverage this attire to generate one emotion and one emotion only. And it's not the one you think. It's nostalgia. Let me tell you what I mean. They're gonna be in the middle or towards the end of their careers, but they're not so disconnected that they don't remember the nervousness, the excitement, the anxiety of landing their first big corporate role. And because of the times, most of them can remember that they were way overdressed and wearing outfits that they would never wear to a first interview because it screams desperation. I want you to mimic that. I want you to put on your best corporate attire because I want to generate that nostalgia. I want to make them chuckle a little bit in their head, but I also want them to remember what it's like to sit in your shoes and show a little bit more empathy from the moment you walk into the room. Oh, and by the way, you have the added benefit of looking good. And I'd already told you what Coach Prime says about looking good. Here's another one for the most senior people in the room, real quick. You're gonna be tempted to put on the power suit. Don't do that. I want you to go with power casual. I'm talking blazer with the high premium t-shirt, luxury turtleneck with the jeans, or the nice chinos that are casual, because I want you to invoke a different emotion. Again, we're invoking the psychology of dress here. I want you to invoke confidence, and nothing screams confidence like someone that's dressed in an impeccable manner that screams competency but also coolness. I want you to come off as cool, calm, and collected. And the best way to do that is with this confident, business casual, leisure dress. And lastly, for number 1, I want you to be well read. Here's what I mean by that. Spend the time doing the research that most people are too lazy to do. I want you to go to the LinkedIn of your interviewers, but I don't want you to just look at their roles. I want you to look at where they went to school. I want you to look at the things that they like. I want you to look at the things that they post to find a connection between you and the interviewer. I want you to look at the company mission. I want you to find things in the values and the culture that scream to who you are, because I want you to have all that information in your mind to be able to use it like a weapon to instantly build a connection with the interviewer when you walk into the room. Let me tell you about a recent example I had. Did the research before an interview. I stepped into the call for the interviewer. I made it extremely casual by using the interviewer's name to build that trust, because as Alex Hormozzi says best, the number one word that people love in the English dictionary is their own name. But then I was able to hit him with some information that he didn't expect. I said, hey, I noticed you went to college in Virginia. Are you a Virginia boy? Because I see you live in North Carolina now. And he said, yeah, I am, by the way. And I said, hey, so am I. Here's where I went to school. And we were able to start the conversation completely different than any other candidate that he would have interviewed that day. Be well read, it's gonna pay off. Number 2, challenge and push back. Now, before you say anything about not having the courage to challenge and push back on your interviewer because you're already nervous about being there, I want you to go back to what I said at the beginning. These are the same principles to be successful in an interview are the same principles to be successful in a date. And who likes a boring date that agrees with every single thing that they said and that thinks they're the best, coolest person in the world? I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, it's absolutely nobody. Think about all the best dates you had. Not only did you find things to connect over, but the person on the other side of the table challenged you and made you think in unique ways. It may have been the foods that they like. It might have been the places that they visit. It might have been their political stances. They did it in such a way that built some interest and attraction, so much so you already started thinking about the second date before you left the first date. I want you to take this same energy into the interview. Here's how you do it. Let's take a common question like, tell me about your superpower. Most people will pick a common one, like their ability to communicate or their ability to lead. But I want you to think about it for a moment. And I want you to think about a unique one that applies to you, so it's still authentic, but it's different. I like to use my favorite, which is emotional intelligence. And I use that one to challenge the interviewer to think differently about their superpower. Oh, and by the way, I'll ask them about their superpower and I'll ask them why it's their superpower before they even get to their next question, because I want to build a dialogue and exchange of information. And I want to even challenge them and ask questions on, well, why did you pick that one and not this one that I observed? You said your superpower was communication, but if I'm being honest, when I look at you, you got a strong presence. You got a good leader's presence. Why isn't it that? Excellent ways to challenge your interviewer, and I guarantee you'll start to generate interest and build attraction from the interviewer to start seeing you in that role and wanting to hire you for that role. Again, think about the dates that you've been on. It's the ones that interest you and keep your attention that you're most excited about. And the same thing is true for the people on the other side of your interview table. Guys, I've interviewed countless people at this point. They all start to blend together after a while. You know which ones don't blend together? The ones with interesting ideas that challenge me, that made it effortless, that had great conversational style interviews where we went off script. Those were the people that I was most interested in hiring. And I basically picked them before I ever got to any more candidates. Give it a shot. Number 3, ask great questions. Guys, I don't care what your grandma, I don't care what your mom, I don't care what your pastor says. There are such things as dumb questions in an interview. I don't mean to burst your bubble, but there just are. At the end of every great interview is dedicated time for you to ask questions. Contrary to what you may think, this is still a part of the interview. And the people that can seal the deal at the end with great thought-provoking questions will leave an incredible impression on the way out the door, even if they didn't necessarily get all of the answers right in their interview process. Here's what you don't do. Don't go in there and ask the obvious questions that you shouldn't ask about pay, but more importantly, don't go in there and ask the regular old run-of-the-mill questions. So what are you looking for in the person that gets this role? I hate that question, by the way. It's so lazy. What does success look like in this role? Guys, everyone asks those questions. They're on every single interview guide that you've ever seen. Don't do that. Here's some questions that you can ask instead, and I put them into 2 categories. Number 1, professional. And number 2, personal. When I'm interviewing, I like to pick one question out of each category to really shake things up. I like to lean into point number 2 and challenge with my questions to generate some interest, to let them know that I truly have thought about the role. Here's what that can look like. Hey, I reviewed the job description and there's a lot of great ideas in here. But if I'm being honest, it was a little bit confusing on just what you were looking for out of this role. So can you do me a favor and narrow down the top 3 things that I have to crush to be in this role? If you got a good interviewer, they might laugh and say, hey, HR makes us put those job descriptions like that. But you're absolutely right. Here's what we're really looking for. Or my personal favorite, I like to ask the personal questions. I looked on LinkedIn and I saw you've been at this company for 10 years. That means you've been doing this for a long time. And I know it's not always easy. What is the inspiration for you to get up every single day, whether you want to or not, to keep coming back into this job? Is it the company? Is it the job? Is it the people? It's hard to do anything for 10 years. What's making you stay? Newsflash, people love to talk about themselves. Leverage that to your benefit by asking great questions. All right, corporate athletes. As always, this stuff is simple but not easy. But the goal here is to use your experience from the dating game and the psychology behind it to crush the interview game. And if you take nothing else away from this video, the thesis behind it is simple. Be different, be bold, and challenge in interviews, because those are the people that build interest and excitement from the people on the other side of the table. Hey, look, as always, you can do anything with God and hard work. Don't get comfortable and don't quit. See you on the other side. Peace.